It's crazy to think that after the massive long wait, Final Fantasy 15 has now been out for over 6 months. And in that time, there has been plenty to talk about. We've had a full-on piece of downloadable content in the form of Episode Gladiolus, we've had some smaller experiences like the Holiday Pack and the Booster Pack Plus, and we've had plenty of patch updates that, aside from fixing bugs, even altered sections of the main game entirely. And the crazy thing is that even though we're now halfway through the proposed 12-month content plan, we haven't even had half of the proposed content yet. And that's just when talking about the stuff we actually know about. Now, to temper that slightly, things have gone a bit quiet in recent times. Since the release of Episode Gladiolus and the addition of Chapter 13 Verse 2 on the 31st of March, we've only had 2 patch updates, and they didn't offer anything too substantial either. The first patch added some fixes for the PlayStation Pro frame rates, added content around the Terror Battle collaboration, and reintroduced time quests, while the second saw the implementation of the Future Updates survey and a new dish called Plump and Pungent Tofu, which was included based on feedback from Taiwanese gamers. Needless to say, people have been getting a little bit antsy about what's actually next for the game, which brings us nicely onto E3 2017, which is now very much on the horizon. Square Enix often has decent representation at E3, and even had their own press conference back in 2015 when they announced, of course, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And this year, it looks like they will have a prominent booth in the South Hall right next to the South Lobby, adjacent to the Microsoft and Capcom booths. Although they won't be hosting a press conference, it's very likely that they will instead rely on their Square Enix Presents live stream. They've run this for the last couple of years from their booth, and they use it to dole out information on all their titles. Last year, for example, they did 2 45-minute streams for Final Fantasy 15, and in and around those streams, Hajime Tabata answered 16 fan questions. They also introduced Wait Mode, showed off some new footage of the Regalia Type F, announced A King's Tale Final Fantasy 15, announced the release of Brotherhood Episode 2, and spoke more about the Final Fantasy 15 wider universe. This year, things shouldn't be quite so hectic, at least from a Final Fantasy 15 perspective, but there's still plenty to look forward to, starting with Episode Prompto. Episode Prompto will act as the second significant piece of downloadable content for Final Fantasy 15, and it was announced during the Final Fantasy 30th Anniversary opening ceremony that it would be releasing at some point during June 2017. But we don't actually know too much more about it at this point. I think it's safe to say that E3 2017 will therefore be seen as the perfect platform to expand on Episode Prompto, as aside from 2 very similar teaser trailers, not much has been revealed about what the DLC will actually contain from either a narrative perspective or gameplay perspective. I think it's therefore safe to expect at least a release date to be revealed for Episode Prompto, with some form of actual gameplay being revealed alongside this. For your reference, the release date of Episode Gladiolus was announced 2 months prior to its release. Following this release date announcement, Square Enix then released additional information about the contents of the DLC pack around a month before its release, and the press published their hands-on previews a few weeks before release. If they were to release Episode Prompto in June as planned, those timelines would of course be rather different, but in E3, they also have the luxury of a massive mega platform to push out everything people need to know about it, all in one go. Personally, I can't wait to see how the gameplay differs with Episode Prompto, especially since they've had quite a bit of time to work on it. I'm also curious to see if, like with Episode Gladiolus, they introduce some new sequences into the main story that will act as a demo of sorts. Next up, we have Episode Ignis. Now, back in February, Hajime Tabata told DualShockers that Episode Ignis was being released as the final downloadable content pack dedicated to the bros, as they feel it will have the largest impact on the story of Final Fantasy 15. They therefore want to pump the most time and resources into it to ensure it's a really solid experience. To summarise, they're saving the best for last. But at this point, pretty much all we know is that it exists. We should hopefully get at least a release window for Episode Ignis during E3, but I wouldn't hold out much hope for anything else. We may get a teaser trailer, but we didn't get the teaser trailer for Episode Prompto until a few days before Episode Gladiolus released, so it might be released a little while after E3. To keep things related to the subject of core downloadable content, we may also get to learn some more details about Comrades, the multiplayer expansion that rounds out the 12 months of content for Final Fantasy 15. So far, Square Enix has been pretty tight-lipped about what exactly Comrades will involve, but there has been quite a lot of small details revealed. We know that you'll be able to play as Noctis, Gladiolus, Prompto and Ignis, and via an interview with Hajime Tabata that appeared in the Final Fantasy 15 Ultimania guidebook, we know that Iris, Aranea and Core will likely be playable too. They even spoke about having Luna Freya playable, but said it's much less likely. We know that they are also looking to add a create your own character option, and that you'll be able to use this character in the multiplayer mode. When DualShockers went over in February, they allowed them to take this screenshot where they were using Libertas' model as a base. In this work in progress screenshot, they also had customizable options for height, face size, and the amount of muscle. They also said that they're working to make it so that you could use your created character in the single player game, but this isn't something that's confirmed, they're just trying to see if it's feasible. If Square Enix do speak about Comrades at E3, it would likely only be in passing though, as there's so many more pressing things going on with the game right now. Moving on to some smaller updates, we're going to start with those glorious Magitech exosuits. For those not in the know, they were announced during the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary opening ceremony as part of the booster pack downloadable content, but following comments by foreign media about how the designs look similar to those being used in the Power Rangers movie, Square Enix decided that they would rework the designs to avoid confusion. This all happened on the 4th of February, and we have heard literally nothing since. Part of me feels as though they're just trying to sweep it under the carpet. I mean, it was meant to be a free edition after all, and I can't fathom why it might have taken them 4 months to redesign the outfits, but you never know, it may still actually happen after all. Then there's the bestiary. This came up on the 20th of January when Hajime Tabata was speaking to Japanese publication Entertainment Station. He said there were plans to add a bestiary into the game, but had no updates on when it would happen. Could E3 be the time for them to elaborate on how the bestiary will be implemented and when it will appear? Perhaps. But as with the Magitech exosuit, it's been such a long time since it's been spoken about, it's difficult to know if it's actually something that's a priority for them. Then again, it could also be the fact that literally nobody has asked anyone within the development team about it since that question was initially asked. One thing we're unlikely to hear about is anything relating to results from the Future Update survey that went live with patch update 1.10 on the 24th of May. Why? Well, the survey doesn't actually finish until the end of June. They may well give a reminder for people to vote though, but that's probably about it. Oh, and let's not forget that Final Fantasy 15 VR experience. This was, of course, announced at E3 last year, and after a pretty dire reception from Western media, they've been very quiet about it since. The last update we received was back in February, when Tabata told Famitsu that development is progressing, but we haven't progressed to the point where we can specifically say when it will be released. As it will be the 1 year anniversary of its announcement, who knows, it may well make an appearance in some shape or form, perhaps during the Sony press conference again, like last time. Okay, last up we have that World of Versus rumour that was doing the rounds a few months ago, as well as its associated points. This rumour originated on 4chan, but the thread has now of course been deleted. Anyway, amongst other things, like new scenes appearing for Ravus, Nox Fleuret and the Niflheim Empire alongside episode Prompto, the rumour mentioned that a full-on expansion called World of Versus would be announced at E3 2017, in preparation for a release in Q1 2018. The leak stated that this World of Versus expansion would cover the demons that Noctis faces during his 10-year slumber. We reported on this at the time because the concept is somewhat cool and there was a degree of merit to it, but honestly I can't see the announcement happening right now, even if this does actually exist behind the scenes. It's been just over 3 months since the leak, and by actually announcing it along with this plan, they kind of give power to the leaker. Square Enix also changed their mind a lot about what they're actually going to do at these large shows, so yeah, that's going to be another part of it. So yeah, that's all the major updates I think we should expect from Final Fantasy 15 at E3 2017. But also expect them to give some small updates around things like timed quests, and of course, there's going to be tons of information that comes out of the plethora of interviews that are sure to take place. I mean, there's plenty of stuff on the table at the moment for Final Fantasy 15, so I'd expect some juicy content to come out during the show itself from these interviews, or in the days and weeks that follow. All in all, while it probably won't be a hugely exciting show for Final Fantasy 15, that's not too unsurprising. I mean, it's pretty uncommon to be talking about a game 6 months after release, unless it's more of a consistent game like Destiny. With Final Fantasy 15, they're trying something new, and to be honest, they're doing alright with it. Anyway, are you guys going to be glued to your computers waiting for updates around Final Fantasy 15 during the show? And if so, which update are you most excited to learn more about? One of the DLC expansions or perhaps something new? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support our channel and increase your chances in our awesome giveaways, please be sure to head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/FFunion. These awesome folks right here have done so already, so why not join them? Alright, thanks for watching guys, this is Daryl signing out. I'll see you next time.